so far. And up until this season, he didn't seem like anything more than a Luka Garza type as far as the interest of the NBA. So for those that don't know, Zach Edey is a 7'3", 308-pound center for Purdue. He is 22 years of age at this point. He's a junior or a senior?
He's a senior.
Okay, he's a senior. So we have a nice discrepancy here. The Ringer has Zach Edey 17th on their big board, Hoop Intellect at 38th. The Ringer likens Zach Edey to Ivica Zubac, which is interesting. They kind of have a similar vibe, I'll say. And obviously Zubac is not quite as imposing, but some of the things that you've told me, and then I'll let you kind of just give the diatribe on Edey. And if you want to make the case for him as an NBA player that either could just produce off the bench or potentially could be a starting center in the right situation. He does move more fluidly than you would think. He has a really nice post game. And Zubac sometimes will surprise you because he can put some moves on you. But again, you can only play him around 22 minutes a game. Zubac has always been a part-time player, although intriguing for fantasy when he gets the run. So do you like that comp as far as what he could be statistically? And then just talk a little bit about his development and how he's gotten to this place to be 17th on the Ringers big board.
Yeah, I don't hate the comp. It's hard to find a comp for a guy like this, especially because the NBA has a handful of guys who NBA fans are very affectionate towards, who are of similar builds. Yeah, exactly. Taco Fall is another example of it's just kind of a fun profile of a guy. And interestingly, people sort of take an opposite feeling towards Zach Edey, who inspires a lot of negative affects. I mean,
just not very fun.
Are upset with how much success he's had individually. A lot of people don't think it's very fun to watch. I happen to really enjoy it. But so Zach Edey is an interesting case because he grew up in Toronto with aspirations of becoming a professional hockey player. Okay. This is where he develops his really swift footwork. And you've pointed out his feet are slow. This is true. And that's going to be a major problem at the NBA level. He doesn't move super quickly, but the footwork itself is very almost poetic. It's very swift. It's very precise. And this is a consequence of having grown up playing hockey and learning to ice skate in Canada. Interestingly enough, once he became sort of too tall for hockey, he developed a pretty promising young career as a pitcher for a baseball team.
Okay.
He was still tall for his age, but then one year he grew 10 inches and it entirely screwed up his pitching form, and he was developing issues, injuries and things like that. So he finally, as a sophomore in high school, caved into demands and decided to join the basketball team.
Okay. And so that's why his love for the game really pours out in his post-game interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
a late addition.
Worked out for him, one where the size is an asset. Totally. And I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. He was not ranked up in the top 400 or something from his high school draft class. And now he's a 2-time NCAA player of the year. And so it's probably really frustrating when people just say, you're just tall. That's all that there is. It's not quite true. My pitch for Edey in the NBA is, as someone who can maybe help a team change pace in brief moments, give different looks. It's still going to be really hard to defend Zach Edey for anybody in the NBA. I think he's just so big. He's just so imposing. He's just so strong. He's got nice finesse, and you can't just foul him because he's a good free throw shooter. And so the problem is going to be on the opposite end of the floor. He's a type of player who can become entirely exploited.
Churn style.
Yeah, absolutely. Even at the college level, he's at times not an excellent rim protector. And sometimes actually chooses not to pursue blocks for the sole purpose of staying out of foul trouble, which is an interesting strategy. You'll watch him just avoid an opportunity to try to get a block at times.
Okay.
And so I think at the next level, if there's an NBA team who says we can in quick bursts give our center a rest, entirely give a new look to our offense, and hopefully in a quick enough burst that the other team can't just entirely game plan and exploit him on the defensive end, then I think that there's a role, there's a niche for him. I wouldn't take him in the middle first round. It just
Yeah.
seems like there are too many players there who can have a greater, who are better suited to help your team win games.
Yeah.
Um, I could totally see him going somewhere in the mid second round. That makes sense to me. As the guy who's probably not going to get a ton of playing time, but might just, if he's not worried about foul trouble and things like that, might be a good rim protector for a couple minutes if he's not having to get switched out onto quick guards and things like that. So I think that he can carve out a little niche, but I certainly don't expect him to be a star. And I think 17 is pretty ambitious.